So thank you so much for everyone joining. I really, really appreciate it. I know it's a Thursday evening. Everybody's super busy, but I really do appreciate everybody joining in on this. The webinar is something that the staff and I talked about doing for our coaches, and we wanted to start it with flag football and begin it with a smaller sport and see how it goes, and then transition that over into our bigger sports, you know, softball, basketball, bowling, and just see how it goes. We want your all's feedback and what you all think of it. Our job is to provide you all as coaches as much information as possible. That way you go into the season feeling good about it and you have the least amount of questions as possible. Of course, I know there are going to be questions, so I do not expect there not to be, but hopefully we minimize those questions as much as possible and get everything across to you all in an orderly fashion. So my name again is Hunter Brislin. I oversee coach education and team sports. On the line, I also have Mr. Tom Hoffman. He sits on our sport advisory team and is also our lead referee contact. I've known Tom now, this is going on my second year. He is not only our lead referee contact for flag football, but he also volunteers in a number of our other sports. He was a huge volunteer in last year's state basketball event, and he is just all around a great person. He loves Special Olympics with every ounce of his heart, and we really, really appreciate everything that he does for us as far as organizing all of the officials for all of our regionals and state events. He does all of that. So if you guys run into him, which I'm sure you will, but if you run into him throughout the course of the season, please thank him and his guys for everything they do for us, because it would just go a long way, and we can't thank him enough for all he does. So I'm going to, like I said, turn it over to him just for a minute, and he's going to cover a couple things and introduce himself. Okay, Tom?
All right, guys. Thanks, Hunter. Yeah, my name's Tom Hoffman. Like I said, I actually this is my 20th year officiating football. I do high school, college, semi-pro. I've also been a football coach for Soki for 5 years, taking a team back in 2014 actually to the USA games with Coach Danny Lane up to New Jersey. Hunter asked me to talk a little bit about points of emphasis this year for the rules. Everybody should have the rules that we put out last year. And Hunter, I think you've put them in the packet this year that they'll be getting, correct?
Yes, and they're all in the manual, of course. So if you guys have your manual handy, it would be awesome for you guys to pull that out. If you don't, just, you know, kind of follow along with him.
Okay. You know, the basic things like coin toss and all that, that's self-explanatory. We went over that and changed it last year because there was confusion where we're not playing quarter football, we're just playing two halves. So basically, you're going to get your choice of either offense, defense to start the game, and the other team will pick which way we are going, and then the second half, everything switches. If you're on offense, you're on defense, and if you're going towards the clock, you'll be going away from the clock. Equipment-wise, the biggest thing that we've seen, no headgear, which means no hats or no bandanas. The only thing they can wear is a skull cap. No hats, no scarves, nothing. The biggest problem we have are pockets. They cannot have pants with pockets, shorts with pockets. There can be no pockets at all. So the best thing I could suggest to people is sewing them. If you have to have pockets on them, sew the pockets shut so nobody can get a finger stuck in there or rip them off. Somebody was going to say something. Did somebody have a question about that?
No, that was me, Tom. I've got everybody else muted. That's a very good point, and because I can't tell you how many times Justin and myself, and probably you as well, Tom, had to make sure that we always had a thing of duct tape in our back pocket, because we had to go around duct taping people's shorts, and we most certainly don't want to do that.
Right. And that brings up a good point, too. You cannot turn their pants inside out, because then you have a flap that somebody can grab, where if they're trying to grab a flag, they're going to grab the pant pocket because it's inside out flopping. So it has to be no pockets or sew them shut before the season begins and alleviate this problem. Football jerseys, they have to be tucked in at all times. The thing we're trying to get away from is people pulling shorts, pants, jerseys, and what they're doing is they're grabbing a hold of those to be able to grab the flag. So if we take all those obstacles away, it should be easier for the people to get to the flag without de-pantsing somebody, basically. The belts, you have to have the one-piece belt with 3 flags on them. The officials, before the game, don't be shocked if they don't go up to a player and they pull their belt off to make sure it comes off, make sure nobody's tying it. Same way after a score, we're emphasizing to referees that if somebody scores a touchdown, if it's a breakaway touchdown and nobody got close to pulling the flag, not a big deal. But if you have an athlete that runs through the middle or he catches a pass in a crowd of defenders and they're all pulling his flag and it's not coming off, if he scores, ask the official, if you're the opposing team, ask the official to go up and pull his flag off to check it. That way we make sure there's not, they're not tied. If it's happening, it will be a foul against the coach of that team. It'll be unsportsmanlike, which we definitely don't want to do. Mouthpiece, we covered it. Single color mouthpiece with at least a 4-inch stem. No mouthpieces can be on a lanyard where that lanyard is around the athlete's neck. We definitely don't want to have somebody get whiplash because somebody grabbed the lanyard trying to catch a pass and rip it off or twist their neck around. So there has to be just a mouthpiece with a 4-inch extension. No jewelry. If an athlete has jewelry, a medical alert bracelet, a medical alert necklace, it has to be taped to their body if they have to wear it. But the coach on the team has a medical form on every athlete. So if something happens, they're there. They would be able to tell us. They would be able to call Hunter or Jay or Justin and call them, hey, we have an emergency. They have all the information, so they really wouldn't even have to wear the jewelry, preferably. Rushing, as you guys know, last year or 2 years ago, they moved it back. It's 7 yards rushing. The biggest issue we're having, in fact, I had lunch with Scott Jaggers, who's also my sidekick. He's been officiating. He does high school ball now with us, doing college scrimmages. He was actually an official at the 2014 games. The one thing we're having a problem with there is when you have that 7-yard rush marker, of course, anybody rushing the quarterback has to start behind that 7-yard. The problem we're having is the athletes are actually starting to rush as the quarterback is calling his cadence. He cannot rush until that ball moves. They have to snap the ball before he can rush, not by the quarterback's voice. Of course, if any other defensive person, they can come up to the line of scrimmage. They cannot cross the line of scrimmage until the ball is handed off. Once the quarterback hands off the ball, the rushing zone dissipates and all defenders may rush at that time. A lot of problems we had last year. If you're a defensive player and the quarterback's trying to throw the ball and you go in there and try to stop it by jumping up and swatting the ball, that's fine. You can do that. But if you contact the quarterback's throwing arm, that's a penalty. That's roughing the passer. You cannot touch him at all in flag football. Only thing you do is pull his flag. So if you're going to have a defender, and I'm just throwing out names because I know some of the athletes, let's talk about Wake. He is so tall. So if he's going to go up and try to block a pass, I would get him to get in front and just jump straight up, because if he lunges towards that quarterback and hits his throwing arm while he's throwing it, that is a foul. Points of emphasis, the main thing that we came up today, no blocking. And when I say blocking, that means if you contact that player, elbow, arm, hand, leg, if you are contacting him to initiate a screen block, it's illegal. The only kind of blocking you can do is just like you're setting a pick in basketball. And the way, when I used to teach my athletes, I would run up to the person. When you get 3 yards away, you do a jump stop, basically, where you jump, put your hands across your groin, and you land, and you stop right there. There's no way you can contact another player if you jump and stop. Now, he can contact you, which is illegal on his part. But if you're going to set a pick block, run up 3 yards away, stop, jump, plant, and you're set. Diving, you cannot dive unless it's to catch a ball, offensively or defensively to intercept the ball. The biggest problem we're having with diving is you have an athlete that has a breakaway going down the sideline, and let's say you have a safety coming from the middle of the field. He tries to run and dive to pull his flag. That's illegal. You cannot do that. Diving is only permitted to catch a ball. Flag guarding, which includes spinning, holding the flags, stiff arming. When the athlete's there running the ball has to be in contact with him with its arms either in front of him or arms in the side, like holding a bread basket, so to speak. He cannot use his left arm. Let's say the ball's in his right arm. He cannot use his left arm to swat a flag, to push a defender off. None of the above. That's an illegal block. Illegal. We call it flag guarding. Hurdling. I don't think we've had an issue with people hurdling over the line of scrimmage, nothing like that. The only hurdling that is all illegal, all hurdling is illegal. The one we're looking at now that has been happening quite a bit last year, an offensive player catches the pass and he's going towards the sideline. He's trying to jump to get those few extra yards while he's going out of bounds. Just remind your athletes they have to stay grounded at all times. Don't forget, if a runner's running the ball and his hand touches the ground, he loses his balance and he tries to put a hand down and keep going, he's actually down at that spot. Hunter, I need your help on this one because I know we had talked about it, but I don't know if it's going to be implemented this year or not, about the legal snap.
Yes. So we're gonna do this a case-by-case situation because John Foppy with Northern Kentucky brought up in our first webinar on Monday about the question in regards to our rules state that you have to snap the ball technically between your legs. The center has to snap the ball between her or his legs to the quarterback. So I immediately reached out to Tom, and he told me that across the board in all football, you do not technically have to snap the ball between your legs. That is correct, right, Tom?
That is correct.
So, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
What we can do is when we have the first regional, at each regional, it doesn't matter, in the state games, I will be there except for the state games, and Scott Jaggers will be there. We can demonstrate to you. I can kind of tell you now the way it is, but a legal snap in any football, the way it's defined is a snap that is one continuous motion backwards. It doesn't have to be between the legs, but one continuous motion backwards to either the backfield or a player. That's the definition. So if I'm standing sideways and the ball, I'm holding it on the ground, to be a legal snap, they have to take the ball from the ground and just one swoop backwards, throw it. They can't pick up and turn it and toss it like you're pitching a ball. They can't pick up and hand it. It has to be from the ground, one continuous motion backwards. And that is a legal.
So what we'll do is, like what you just said, we'll do that. And then as far as going into next year, into 2018, I'll, of course, make sure to add that to manual and take out that the ball has to be snapped between the legs. If you have an issue with if you have an issue with it this year, now you know, please relay this to all of your coaches. Tom, the coaches that aren't on this will obviously have to make aware of if that is a question.
Okay. And
as long as we're on the as long as we're on the same page, that's the main thing. But I will add it to the manual going into next year for sure.
Okay. And then when we have the rules clinic, like I said, we'll demonstrate. We'll get all the coaches together before the game and make sure that the officials on each field know that that is a legal snap now. And I pass out a little rules cheat sheet before the game, so I'm actually going to email it this year so they have it the week before, and I will note that on there.
All right, perfect. Thanks, Tom.
A fumble, remember, if the ball hits the ground, it's dead immediately, and it goes back to the original spot. An interception, the ball's dead immediately, and the defensive team would take over the ball at that spot. The only thing that's different there is if it's a turnover on downs, you go back to your 5-yard line and start from there. But once again, if it's a pick, if it's an interception, the opposite team gets the ball right at that spot, 1st and goal or 1st and 10, wherever they're at on the field. If a receiver's flag falls off inadvertently, doesn't mean it was pulled off. If they're going downfield to catch a pass and the flag falls off inadvertently, as soon as he catches the ball, it's down at that spot. And the reason I go over this is because usually in the A games it doesn't happen, but sometimes in the B games, they're so used to the coaches saying, pull the flag, which the coach is meaning after the ball is in the player's hand, that if it's a pass play, you have some athletes that'll go and pull the flag before the ball is even thrown. If that's the case, that would be pass interference because now you're taking away the ability of the offensive player to run after the catch. But that was because of the defense pulling the flag, not of the flag falling off inadvertently. I hope that's clear. That's pretty much it. Everybody else knows the game, 2 20-minute running halves. And I know, Hunter, that we've talked about it, and this year we probably won't be able to change it, but next year, 2018, about the running clock, because it's always running clock, but the point differential for a mercy rule so we don't get people hurt because the score is 63-0 and you got a team still scoring.
Yes, just to touch on that, that'll be another rule change going into 2018 as far as I looked up on Special Olympics North America's website, and they do have a mercy rule, and that is a 25-point differentiation. So.
And what do they do there?
Yeah, well, they say it continues as a running clock. So basically, the only thing that would change is where we stop the ball at the last minute of every half at every period. So that would be really the only thing that would change, is that would continue to run no matter.
Right.
So we'll look at that more in depth, and if we need to take it farther than that, then we will, most certainly.
Okay. And then only thing really, I mean, everybody knows the basic game where we talk about the no run zones, 5 yards to midfield or 5 yards to the goal line. The basic game, everybody's got that. The penalties, everybody remember that all penalties are enforced from the line of scrimmage. So if you've got a pass that's 25 yards downfield, it's not college Saturday. We're not going to that spot and giving them automatic first down. We go back to the previous spot. All fouls are 10 yards and a loss of down on offense. And all defensive penalties are 10 yards, and it gives the offense an automatic first down. If coaches, don't forget, you have the option to decline a penalty at any time and accept the results of the play. So if you have pass interference and the guy actually caught the ball for a first down, and he's 25 yards downfield, you're probably going to take the results of the play and will decline the penalty instead of go back to the line of scrimmage. So, sportsmanship and roughing. Of course, sportsmanship, I think since I've been doing this for the past 6 years, I think we've only had to throw out maybe 2 athletes, and that's because they threw a punch. Won't be tolerated. Language, we're teaching sportsmanship, help somebody up, give them a hand, whatever. So no rough play, no foul language. There's no warning. If they get it. That's it. And then, of course, scoring. Everybody knows 6 points for a touchdown, 1 point from 5 yards, 2 points from 10 yards, and a safety, of course, would be 2 points. Is there any questions or anything you guys can think of? You want to open up for questions?
Yeah, well, I was going to say just a few things that on my end I was going through here that maybe we didn't mention that are common things that everybody should know these. Of course, we will be using an intermediate U-size football in all divisions. Ideally, the football fields will be 60 yards long, 25 yards wide. And how we do it, most of you all know this, we'll break up the normal size football field into 4 fields across, depending on how many teams we have at a regional or state. Typically, state is always 4 fields broken down across 1 football field. And of course, each team is required to play all team members in every game played. So make sure everybody knows this. Of course, in B Division, one coach is allowed to be on the field to help assist. Tom, was there any issues that you see with the B Division as far as that one coach being on the field and assisting?
No.
Pretty cut and dry.
Yeah, it's pretty cut and dry. The one thing that I would suggest, though, is once they set everybody and they call the play, we're teaching these athletes to kind of be independent. You teach them to do something and you want them to do it. If a coach is back there yelling while the play is going off, it really confuses. So as a coaching technique, I would say try to keep that to a minimum, because you really confuse them. Or if you're yelling something and they're trying to snap the ball, now you have people jumping off sides. I mean, that's something that we've seen it. We try not to call the B Division as tight, especially false starts, offsides, because there's a lot going on and sometimes they may get confused. So I would say just try to keep that to a minimum. And then, of course, we're out there to have fun with the athletes. We're out there to have fun with the coaches. If you have an issue with a coach or a coach with an official, don't yell at the official. Just go up and talk to them. Say, hey, can we talk about this? They'll talk to you. And if not, come to me and I'll talk to them, because they should not be some hard butt out there. You deserve an answer. You deserve the respect that you are giving to us. So they need to stop and talk to you and explain what they saw, what they had, whatever it may be.
Yep. Yeah. Very good, Tom. If anyone has any questions, he pretty much covered everything in the manual as far as rules go, what's going to be tolerated by the officials. If anybody has any questions in regards to that, put them in the chat and I will answer them at the end of this webinar. And if not, we'll talk about it via email if you'd rather do that as well. So Tom, if you don't have anything else, like I said, I really, really appreciate you getting on and doing this for us. And guys, coaches, as far as that goes, please thank Tom for everything he does for us.
No, I appreciate it. Thank you guys for coaching, being out there. Like I said, we love to do it. So hopefully you have a successful year, and I will see you guys starting on the 8th next week up in Northern Kentucky.
Yes, sir. Thanks, Tom.
Good luck. And Hunter, if you have anything, email me or give me a call. I can help you out.
Will do.
All right. Take care.
All right, guys. We're going to dive in a little bit deeper. I'm going to back up from flag football specifically and go into more of what is expected by you all as coaches. Of course, the coach certification process for any Special Olympics coach, you have to be a Class A volunteer, okay? So in order to be a Class A volunteer, you must, of course, submit and complete the volunteer application, and that is required every 3 years. You have to send in that along with your driver's license. And Justin Harville at our office, he deals with all volunteers, so he will make sure to get that, approve it, and be in communication with you. Also, to become a Class A volunteer, you must complete the volunteer orientation training and submit its quiz. This is online and at our website. This, however, is only required once during continued involvement with Special Olympics. The next thing, to be a Class A, you have to complete the protective behaviors course. This is also online, and this is required every 3 years, just as your volunteer application is. And the next thing and the last thing is you must complete the concussion training course. Just like the protective behaviors, it is online, it does have a quiz, and this is also every 3 years. And both the protective behaviors and concussion training is for anyone over the age of 18, okay? So all of those things fall under becoming a Class A volunteer. There are things that you need to do to further your education as a coach in Special Olympics. And in touching on that, I want to click on our website here because we just had a revamp here in regards to our website. So I want to make sure that we show this to everybody. We've worked really hard on this. It has all to do with you all as coaches. Let me make sure you guys can see this here. Can everybody let me know in the chat real quick if you can see the website, please? Should just be the website of the homepage of our Special Olympics website. Does everybody see that? Okay, perfect. Thanks, guys. Really appreciate it. So when you go to our website, you'll see here the volunteer/Coach's Corner page. So this Coach's Corner part is brand new, and this is something that's immediately when I took over Coach Education, this was one of the first things that I wanted to complete, because I feel as if you all as coaches need to have a particular place that you're able to go to and find any answers to the questions you may have in regards to coaching or just in general, and that you're able to go to a specific place and you know that specific place, and it's easily accessible, it's very simplistic, and you guys enjoy being able to go to that website and find all that useful information. So like I said, it is called Coach's Corner, shares a tab with the volunteer up here. Once you click, you can click the main Coach's Corner page. So if you click that right there, it'll take you to the main page here. And this is kind of just an introduction to any coaches. It talks about what coaches mean to our program, and that a positive sport experience starts with the coach first and foremost. It talks about what the responsibilities of a Special Olympics coach. Down at the bottom here, you'll have some resources. You, of course, just like we have an athlete oath that an athlete says at all of our events, we have a coach oath. So that's now on there. So read that when you get a chance. We, of course, have a coach code of conduct. I don't know how familiar you all are with that, but you should be very familiar with it. So please, you can click everything in red that you see. You're able to click it, and it'll open up a new browser, and you'll be able to read that straight from that link. So then, you can get to the certification process, which I'm going to show you here in a minute from here as well. All of our sport manuals are available online, and that is in our SOCI resource library, but it is here now as well. So if you just click here at the sport manuals, you can find any sport manual updated, and any questions, or if you want to print it off, you're able to do that. Down at the bottom, you have key coaching forms. You have accident incident report forms. You have request for certificate of insurance form. This is a super popular form that I distribute out via email a lot. I don't care a bit too, but now this is here. What that form is whenever you all as coaches are practicing in a particular facility, the facility is requesting that amongst Special Olympics. So that's there. Of course, our medical, Class A volunteer application that we just went over. Your local program. Who is your local program? In Louisville, Lexington, in Western Kentucky. You all need to be familiar with who your local program and be connected as coaches with them. So all of that's there. Your unified partner application and local program logo guidelines. So how to use our logo appropriately on your uniform is so very important. So all of that is right there. That's just, like I said, just kind of an introduction to our page. If you go over here and click Become a Certified Coach. Now I covered the first part. Of course, everyone needs to do everything under number 1. That needs to be done first and foremost. And if you haven't done any of this as a head coach, you need to be on your assistant coaches. But if you're unfamiliar and you're not for sure if you haven't taken it, please let us know, email us, because we will be sending out emails letting you know that you haven't taken those prior to the tournament, and they do need to be completed prior to the tournament. Just like an athlete has to have their medical on file with us prior to the tournament, you guys need to have these certifications completed, okay? So under number 2, to further your education, we ask that you all attend a sport-specific coaches clinic, or you can take the Coaching Special Olympics Athlete clinic or class, and that is $16.95. And then further on, to recertify, you need to take one of the following every 3 years. And you'll see all these classes available at the bottom here. Okay. A couple new things in regards to recertification. We have added the leadership conference that we have every year, typically in January. That is now a recertification option. So any coach that is needing to recertify, you are able to attend that conference full of useful information, and you are able to recertify through that. This introduction to autism and instructional strategies for coaching, this is brand new. We have taken this from Special Olympics Virginia. We have talked with them, and every state program is trying to adopt this class. It's a phenomenal class. As you all know, autism is crazy high in numbers, and it's only growing. So we're going to have more and more athletes with autism. So if you guys could just go ahead and take this class, even if you're not needing to recertify. But this is such a beneficial class. I took it, and it's just an amazing class. It goes over pretty much everything in regards to autism and really helps you out from a coaching standpoint if you have athletes that have autism, okay? And then the last thing I want to kind of cover on our new website here is the Coach's Digest. So if you click here on the Coach's Digest, what this basically is a blog style format, okay? My goal is to do around 5 posts a month, but I want those posts to be beneficial to you as a coach, okay? So you can see here in September, the first thing we announced was our new medical policy, which I'll go over in just a second. Our MedFest dates, that autism training class, external resources, that's through the National Federation of High Schools. You're able to go on there and take concussion classes, fundamentals of coaching, first aid and CPR. You're able to take it on there. And then, of course, like I just mentioned, the last post here is about our leadership conference, which, of course, is a recertification option. And then over here on the sidebar here, we'll always have up-to-date information, clinic information, all of that in regards to fall, winter, summer, and spring sports. So that'll always be there and up to date. So you guys go check out our website when you get a chance. I would really, really appreciate it. Like I said, we worked really, really hard on it. Mark Berger, our communications director, has done phenomenal things with this. And so go check it out when you get a chance. I really appreciate it. And, of course, take that autism class. It's just super beneficial to anyone, really. So I'm going to get back here on to our slideshow. If you would, just let me know in the chat again that everybody can see our slideshow here, please. Everybody that's still on. Iverson, I see you joining in. Thanks, man. Appreciate you joining in. We've already got started here. If you have any questions at the end, just send them in my chat or send me an email at the end. So if anyone can't see my screen again, just let me know in the chat here. Kelly, it looks like you can. Good. All right, so everybody knows our mission. It's to provide your sports training and athletic competition, a variety of Olympic-type sports for children and adults with intellectual disabilities by giving them continuing opportunities to develop physical fitness, demonstrate courage, and experience joy in participating in the sharing of gifts, skills, and friendships with their families, other Special Olympics athletes, and the community. All right, so like I mentioned just a minute ago, we do have a new athlete medical policy, okay? And this athlete medical policy states, effective October 1st, no athlete medical forms will be accepted the day of the event. All medicals must be submitted by the deadline of Thursday, 4:30 p.m. prior to the event. So again, we will no longer be taking medicals at the event. And this does start October 1st. In regard to regional and state flag football events, we have 3 regionals. All teams are required to compete in at least one to qualify for the state tournament. There on the screen, you have the dates for all 3 regionals and the state tournament. State tournament is November 11th at Tates Creek High School in Lexington, Kentucky. And of course, times are still to be announced. Everyone competing in the Northern Kentucky tournament Like I mentioned in my email, we should be running games from about 11 to 4 or 5 at the latest, okay? Fees, $30 per team per regional. State fees are yet to be determined, but they will be similar to last year, either $5 to $10 per person, okay? And all of those fees are to be paid prior to the event and mailed into the Skokie State office. Divisioning. Divisioning is always a big topic in all team sports. And, I'm not going to go too in depth on it really. I just want to make sure everybody is familiar with our divisioning criteria in our manual. Okay, on page 5, we do have a division criteria that goes over all divisions and how to place your athlete. Now, in regards to that, if you're unfamiliar where your team should be, please just, call me, send me an email, something prior to the season, and I'm willing to work with you on that. I'm here for you first and foremost, okay? Keep in mind that a team's division level may change from regional to state. So just like in softball leagues or basketball leagues, regionals serve as a divisioning tool for us. So, if a team is going out there and they're stomping everybody in regional, then, we may need to look at them and bumping them up to state. It's not any form of punishment or anything like that, but our main goal is to, of course, just have all games, equally and as fair as possible. We all know that there are going to be higher and lower teams in all divisions, and that's completely fine. Divisioning is not a perfect science, and I really hope everyone understands that. But, we really want to do the best job that we can in ensuring fair competition across the board. And last but most certainly not least, on divisioning, ability is the primary divisioning factor in regards to divisioning for Special Olympic sports. All sports across the board, age and sex are secondary factors, okay? So it's so very important to understand. One last thing in regards to divisioning and just kind of sending a message to your parents and grandparents, set the tone with, your athletes' families in the beginning of the season. You can send them home with something, that just lets them know the way that the season is going to go. And as far as, complaints or questions or any of that from your parents or grandparents, all of that needs to be filtered through you as a coach. So that'll just make it so much easier on me. So all of your questions and concerns that you have, filter them through, like I said, all of your parents and grandparents, bring them, write them down, and send me an email on them or call me or whatever, and I'm happy to talk with you, okay? But it's much easier on me if I'm just getting all these questions from, the main coach or whoever it may be, one person rather than 10 people. It just helps out all around. Now, Tom covered pretty much everything in the manual, so I'm not really going to touch on anything in that. He did a phenomenal job on that. I did notice that we had a question up here in the chat. Let me see. James, let's see, James. James asked, we were 1A last year and had a coach on the field. Is it only B division now? It is only B division. Yes. So on page 10 of your sport manual, James and everyone else as well, in the B division, only one coach per team is allowed on the field at all times. So that's the way that we've got it stated there. So yes, B only. Now, that pretty much wraps up everything. If anyone has any questions, let me know in the chat, or you can just shoot me an email after this. I'm more than happy to answer it however way you want. But if no one else has any questions, guys, I really appreciate you all joining in. Like I said, I want to make this a great 2017 flag football season. Hopefully you all like the format of the webinars. I enjoy them. Clinics are really hard to come by. So, let me know. Let me know what you guys think. I'm here for you guys, and I want to make this as easy on you guys as possible. with making sure we get all the important information out to you. Okay? So let's have a successful and great 2017 season. If you don't have any questions, you can get off now. Thank you very much, and have a great weekend.